head inside of the server. We're going to Oregon for our second game of the night. FaZe Clan versus INTZ. Have I got something wrong here, Gio? Or have INTZ opted to start on the attack? Am I just tired at this point?
Didn't INTZ pick the last map? They did the last ban. Doesn't that mean FaZe Clan get to choose the...
I thought FaZe did the last ban.
No, INTZ banned Coastline.
Okay. I'm tired. I apologize. INTZ are going to be starting on the attack here. So, still a no-brainer for the team that's going to start on defense. FaZe are obviously going to get the benefit of that first start inside as we whiz through the bans here. Hibana, Thatcher, Cade, and Mirror. All pretty standard stuff for a game of Oregon.
Yes, I'm very interested to see how this one is going to go. I'm going to be looking out a lot for the way that FaZe go about their defense. When they played against NIP last week, it wasn't on Oregon, it was on Clubhouse. But one of the big things that NIP had to say about their defense, and it was something that we noted a lot as well in the cast, was it was very aggressive. And it was too aggressive, and it got punished by NIP. Now, I know that INTZ and NIP are two different teams. Quite some way are two different teams. But it was still a recurring issue that was plaguing FaZe Clan. And then they had even more problems on their attack. And if INTZ have been watching their VODs well, they're going to know that that is something that FaZe Clan lent into a little bit too much. So I want to see FaZe reining themselves in somewhat on the defensive side. I mean, something else we discussed was, I mean, Cameraman said it himself, but when FaZe are really feeling themselves, when they're on a hot streak, Astro can really overstep at times. He just gets a bit too overzealous, a bit too pugnacious, a bit too bellicose, and it can come to hurt them. So really, it's the discipline that is going to be the name of the game for FaZe Clan today.
I think that discipline's very important as well when you're going up against a team that you are expected to beat. And that's something that maybe FaZe didn't throw enough respect onto last time. We actually brought it up in an interview from with Cameraman after they played INTZ last time. We sort of last stage, and we sort of said, you know, what went on in that game. We really wanted to put the brains on it, and I think it was a case that, you know, he said, you know, we maybe didn't give them enough respect. And since then, we have seen FaZe be a team that has given a lot of respect to every single team inside the league, because there is that upset potential, and it's nothing to really be joked. I'm saying this? Gio, I'm talking about respect out here, and all of a sudden we're seeing Vits downed outside in school bus.
In a bus.
And then people are throwing Pokeballs at him to try and finish off the job. Like, FaZe are out for blood here. I think that was probably Astro getting a little bit aggressive there in the early round at the bottom of white window. It's going to be picked up there, but still, a bit of a message sent.
That is a peculiar one. Either way, U1D to come out as they try to clear out anything that may be down on the first floor. I don't know if FaZe even have anyone down on the first floor. I'm trying to judge by the silhouettes, and sometimes it's hard to tell where all the silhouettes are. I think most of them, if not all of them, are upstairs. Zach clearing out what he can from the white stairs, as maybe they're looking to start a push up there. I'm wondering if he's going to stay here, or if at some point he will rotate round to the big window if he wants to facilitate another one of his teammates to push white stairs. More typically, you would see a Zephyr on big window, but I guess we'll have to see how that one is going to go. As far as I'm aware, they don't even have any of the reinforced walls open yet.
And certainly with a slower start to things here. Only brought one hard boost, but it's going to be a little bit difficult to really start to get any progress on in. Hornetal will fall E1D in an attempt to root players in position, but it's honestly not going to do all too much. Astro able to take down Zach. Ooh, we'll actually get swung though. Vits back from the grave finishes off the job that he couldn't do earlier from the bottom of white window, and he will in fact take Astro out here. Still having the book alive is going to be a huge swing, but Cyber unaccounted for in Classroom. Picks himself at one, but whiffs the second. Vits could come to be a huge part inside of this round. There's 30 seconds left. You can start to apply this vertical pressure. Maybe land a little bit of damage on. He's got some info by the looks of it as he takes down Cameraman. Was timed to perfection. Another EE1D coming out. Drunks is in possession of the diffuser. but he has to make his way up white stairs. And he's got bullet to go through. A player will cross, though, without really any knowledge. Drunks locked into the 1 versus 1. 6 seconds left. Needs to push through aggressively. Unfortunately for him, cannot find souls. Had no real other option there but to try and push through and just see if he could win a gunfight. A much closer round than FaZe will have been expecting there.
It is such a shame that Vitz lasted so long and did so much with his precious life once he got it back, just to have it cruelly ripped away from him by the fire at the end. It was actually a decent round for INTZ when you consider the number of times that they punished FaZe Clan, but I think they would have had higher chances and a better going at it if they'd have just taken a bit more time on certain things. You know, for example, the fact that Cyber was allowed to just exist down in Classroom, even though INTZ had taken some time to try and clear out the first floor. You know, you shouldn't be having a defender who has access to that area if that's something you've done. Where are the flank drones? You know, where is the information telling them that he is there? Because even though he did get traded out just a little bit later and the diffuser was recovered, you could have saved time by not even allowing him to be there in the first place. It was also a bit more of a, I suppose, less orthodox way of going about the site, just because there was less focus on the walls themselves, so not tons of pressure on games. I don't think there was any pressure on Attic, which is something that we've had a lot to say about over the course of this stage. And instead, it was that kind of upwards push from the staircases. So it made them very prone to being traded and getting in the 1v1s. I think they could have saved some time and had a cleaner go at it had they not allowed them into those situations.
And that's the scary thing, isn't it? It came down to a very close round, even though they were the parameters and we didn't see INTZ pushing in from multiple sides. It was a one-directional push, yet still it came down to a 1 versus 1. That's got to be a bit of an alarm bell if you FaZe, because you've got to see that and go, we kind of dodged a bit of a bullet there, guys. Like, pun intended, you know, it came down to the 1 versus 1. That could have gone very differently. We are going to see FaZe obviously switch things up here. They're going to take us downstairs. But again, looking to play this aggressive defense where they're challenging for everything they can, just off-site. They're not looking to roam, they're just looking to lurk. Not give anything away for free too much and try and burn a bit of time here from INTZ. Cameraman, he's pretty much all over the place at the minute he started on those back stairs, and now he's going to be holding Freezer with the shotgun. INTZ not looking to push on in just yet, but it's still very early on in the round, and they've arguably got some things that they ought to be doing, particularly getting hatches open. If security hatch got open now, for example, Cameraman would be in a very tricky position, and he'd probably have to challenge onto the stairs just to ensure he got away with something. Still, he's not looking to pressure on up too much. Now the force will come as that security hatch is going to be open. Cameraman forced to deploy a little bit of his utility here to stop the inevitable push coming down. It's going to be Hornet Owl that's looking to make this move. E1D going to mean that Cameraman now can't move. Shots miss on the side of Hornet Owl, but a nade could do the job here, honestly. Going to be enough to force Cameraman away. He's now worrying about the hatch. For INTZ, the pressure just isn't quite there. He's going to be able to dip himself back. Cameraman's played that exceptionally well because he's still current. He's still in a position to try and challenge, particularly if a hatch drop comes through. We can see all the players stacking up inside of security now, as it looks like it's going to be a Freezer-sided push.
Yeah, when you consider the fact that there's 4 attackers up there and Cameraman's managed to navigate the situation well enough that he's avoided all of that and is still alive, I would say that's pretty good play from him. We're in the final 40 seconds of the round right now. INTZ have got to make this push, and there is still utility and this manpower that is holding them back from Freezer.
Well, Cameraman now going to look to try and deny a little bit with the Toxic Babe canister, but as the seconds do tick by, he's forced to play the shotgun close, and even still will hit that retreat. Bullet now coming in with a crossfire as well. Cameraman, he will find some success, but it's maybe not where he anticipated from, as the Freezer becomes the kill box. Last couple of frags coming in there. Warden getting a nice little showcase, perfectly able to see through that smoke with the glasses activated and keeping nice and still. INTZ really funneling into that freezer and laundry side for, again, a bit of a one-dimensional push.
It kind of reminded me of the old NIP attacking method onto the laundry site. They would always go in from freezer, but they would send all 5 men down the same path. So, I mean, I will commend INTZ for the fact that it wasn't all 5 of them. And I think that they spent a long time trying to prep freezer, but they simply couldn't get their claws into cameraman. They couldn't get him out the way. Even when they sent the nade down the stairs, it got eaten by an ADS. They hadn't methodically burned that out and applied the correct pressure onto him. They made it kind of too easy for him to be able to hold on to freezer. The idea to have the freezer and laundry push is actually not one that I have any issues with. I quite like that. Do you know why? Because it's not a meat and hatch drop. So, you know, the actual idea was fine. It was the execution that was just somewhat lackluster.
A bit of a strange round for INTZ, as you say, but yes, I like the bright side that you see there, Gio. No meat and hatch drop means that it's something that we can't complain about.
Exactly.
But it would have been nice to have a little bit of pressure coming in from that side, and maybe just one player dropping in could have been the difference maker. But alas, meeting room is going to be the next objective. FaZe looking to take us on a bit of a clean sweep here. Heavy upstairs presence. Could be an opportunity for INTZ to try and get themselves in and make something happen quite quickly at the bottom of the tower. Still, they're not moving with that confidence. They're typically very slow on these attacks, and we've seen that demonstrated today. That's going to try and get himself into tier 3. The addition of a clash being played by Souls, it's again just something that's going to eat up a lot of that time, and where we see a lot of these rounds coming down to the final 20 or so seconds when a push starts to happen from INTZ. The clash is just going to add a lot more pressure into that. Very long angle has been opened there. Imagined by the bionic arm of Astro on the Aruni. It's giving cameraman something that he's able to peek all the way through Attic from Trophy. And of course, with Souls playing inside of Attic, it just adds that little bit more element of confusion, I think, for the attackers to really try and deal with. They're going to be able to open Attic relatively easily, but after they do that, then what are they going to be able to do?
Dude, why is the default cam still up outside?
Oh, we had this yesterday as well.
Like, cameraman's just chilling on it. And if you're trying to make an Attic side push, which makes sense because you're attacking onto meeting, get rid of the default cam that's outside of Attic. It's like they're already playing a Valkyrie. You don't need to make it harder for yourself.
We're going to see players now start to drop inside of that electrical hatch. And the reason for that is that they're going to be playing C4s. There's 2 C4s in play, Cyber and Cameraman. And it is no coincidence that they are playing close together here. They're looking to try and keep each other alive and throw the C4s up through the hatch in an attempt to deny a push or a plant if it does happen. Zach's main job in this is to try and root those players out and make it so that they can no longer stand underneath of that hatch. But he's on his own. He has the fear utility to try and make this happen with. But both Cameraman and Cyber are going to be well aware that they are going to get pressured here at some time. Zach, he's going to lose the engagement. The MPX there doing the job. Cyber finishing him off. That's the first part of the push there. Failing on the side of INTZ. Bullet is going to double down, takes down VNX. C4 is now primed and ready to be thrown on through. Cyber, it won't land, but really it isn't going to matter as Cameraman's going to aggress on up, but he too is going to be taken down. Still the clash, the deciding factor here, as Bullet is going to be alive inside of flags, but not for much longer. Cyber and Souls, the last 2 alive. The plant is going to be going down now. Maybe unbeknown to Cyber, as he's going to try and push on in aggressively. Does take down Hornetow. He's only got Drunks left to find. He is in with Souls. Souls has taken his sweet time to get through the rotate. And again, a round coming down to a 1 versus 1. Still not a clear-cut affair, but another round on the board for FaZe.
They certainly have been messy rounds. FaZe did kind of have the opportunity to wait because of the way that they were playing the clash. You know, even when the push was coming in, they didn't have to overstep their bounds. I like the way that they set themselves up down below. It meant that so much of the punishing onto INTZ actually happened by the tower stairs before they'd moved into into meeting or down the green corridor, whatever it was they were looking to do. they were kind of stopped in their tracks before that was the option, whether it's because they were directly killed, whether it's because they were slowed down because they knew a C4 was being played from below, whether it's because they knew the clash was being played from meeting itself. It really helped grind down INTZ. So even though they could get the plant down, there was not enough on their side to actually hold up against the post plant that FaZe Clan could bring in onto them.
FaZe back upstairs now into dormitories. Round number 1 was the last time we saw this site, and it was a very direct push up white stairs, up armory and in through master bedroom with not a great deal being opened. The big change on the side of INTZ, they've actually brought 2 hard breaches here. They've brought the Ace alongside the Thermite. I don't want to get too excited or ahead of myself, but it could just possibly mean we're going to see some attic pressure, Gio.
I don't want to get too excited about that, but I would like to see that. The way that they attacked onto the upstairs site was a bit peculiar back in round number 1. There was a lot more pressure downstairs. They focused a lot on staircases. No attention paid over towards attic, so you didn't have any crossfires that could be held by the attackers or cutting the site in half, preventing rotations to be made from the defenders. There were a lot of 1v1s as well, and I think that if INTZ can nail a more systematic way of breaching into a site, then they could help themselves avoid a lot of those situations.
Bullet going to be playing below this time. Does have the C4 to try and impact with, and of course on the Valkyrie, he's probably got a bit of information out there for himself as well. I'm just going to be able to ping out a little bit of utility there, managing to get himself around that mute jammer. Still, it's going to be a bit of a difficult task for VNX to get that wall open, and they're going to require some vertical pressure for that to happen. Now, we said let's not get excited about the prospect of attic control, and we were right to do so. Both hard breaches currently inside of master bedroom as Drunks looks to open up into armory corridor. Could quite easily open up into attic and try and give them that line of sight, but again, it doesn't really achieve the same goal. I want to be careful about how they try and utilize that. Still a mute jammer going to be blocking off that wall into games. INTZ again just coming up against these little obstacles that are taking them a long time to solve.
Exothermic charge is going to be detonated there on the games room wall. Astro takes a tiny bit of damage, but nothing too punishing. You've actually got that opened. And cut off that line of sight. You can see somewhat through into attic, but there's the Selmas to actually be thrown on the trophy wall and fully finish opening it up. As you say, it doesn't quite achieve the same goal. You're not coming in from the other side, but you can still hold onto the angles, not only into pit, but through into kids. It really limits the space that FaZe Clan can take upstairs. Still got a player downstairs, though.
Yeah, Cyber's still in position to try and make something happen here on the flank. With the presence of yokai drones still being alive in the site, it's going to be very difficult for INTZ to try and push on through. 20 seconds and still all 10 players alive here. Going to be a little bit of a bloodbath when it all starts to come through. Hornetal has pressure from that big window and is going to be trying to deal with Astro. He will do just exactly that, but he loses a ton of his teammates in the process. The flank is going to be successful. Cyber kept himself out of dodge for pretty much the entirety of the round and was able to just sweep on in, picking up a final couple of kills.
Yeah, I mean, once again, INTZ tried to have that same pressure on white stairs that they did before, but because they hadn't actually had much pressure, or presence rather, downstairs, you know, they hadn't cleared out anything that was going on down there. And we did notice at the beginning that FaZe were playing some downstairs presence. This wasn't a particularly deep roam. It wasn't a bunch of their manpower, but it still was there and it was relevant. So to try and pressure onto staircases without knowing if someone's going to come up behind you, it's how you find yourself in that situation at the end there where, oh wait, there is someone who's flanking me. INTZ still yet to put their first round on the board. This time, they're going for something a little bit different. Once again, it's going to be a basement attack. But INTZ are going for Flores, which is an operator who has been brought out a few times to attack onto this site. Really effective at utility clearing, of course, if you can get the drones where they need to be before they get shot out by the defenders. Combine that with something like a Yana and a Zofia, in theory, INTZ have a lot on their hands to get rid of the utility that FaZe Clan could have downstairs. They're going to have a shield being brought by the Ella. Couple barbed wires, going to be ADSs. They're going to have the Vulcan shields as well from Souls. So they got enough on their hands. It's just whether or not they can actually coordinate it well.
I think this is a really good change from INTZ. Typically, we, in this current meta, see Cyber trying to play quite aggressively on the Ella with the shotgun inside of that bunker area. Now, the Flores can do quite a bit for that, because obviously you have the ability to go and remove the shield, but Astro has taken a little bit of a trip outside, so regardless of what INTZ have brought here, things really aren't going to plan straight off the rip, because they've not only lost Vitz, but they've also lost Zach. 2 aggressive opening spawn peaks there by FaZe. Bullet and Astro getting themselves involved nice and early, pretty much as they have been doing for the entirety of this game. And I think that just speaks to the rising confidence levels on the side of FaZe. It doesn't really matter what strategy you're looking to bring here if you're not able to get yourself into the building and into the map effectively. Drunks is going to be pretty much locked into this engagement with Cameraman. Now he's on the Flores. He has 4 drones at his disposal. He's got 3 flashes. And still, he's just going to go for a flat swing like that. Cameraman, like, greatest kill of his life.
Cameraman could not be shifted out of freezer last time either, and right now it doesn't look like that's going to change whatsoever. There isn't a Lion on the side this time to try and freeze him into place for INTZ to attempt to punish like there was before, so it might be even harder to make this kind of nade succeed. Okay, he's finally been brought down. That's nice. They're going to have to get rid of the shield, but at least they achieved what they couldn't before.
And it's a small consolation prize removing Astro inside of Freezer being the only thing... Sorry, removing Cameraman inside of Freezer being the only thing that you're actually able to do in the round, because INTZ is severely depleted here. And everyone on the side of FaZe knows exactly where the push is now coming from. Hornetow, as much as he's been fragging out lately and he's been winning his gunfights, he too is in a very difficult situation. Cyber may be looking to drop the hatch, but instead he's going to go for the Freezer stairs and be taken down by VNX. If FaZe continue to go 1 by 1 at this, could very easily throw this lead. Somehow, I don't think that that is going to continue. Bullet with the swing will take down Hornetow. VNX, 26 seconds. What is he able to accomplish? He does manage to lay some shots down, but ultimately he's got too many angles to cover and check. Souls pops up at just about the right moment. He's able to pick up that final kill. FaZe continue their flawless streak here on defense.
I don't want to speak too soon, but I did say at the start of the game, I think it was actually, we weren't on camera at the time, I said, I don't know if I believe this is going to be a really one-sided game, given what we saw of FaZe yesterday, especially. But so far, FaZe are starting to prove me wrong. INTZ have failed to put any single round on the board. They're not looking much closer to getting there. Now, of course, we could get to the turn of the half and everything suddenly change. So you never like to be too preemptive in those kinds of comments. But they are just... It seems that everything INTZ are trying has really gaping holes in it that FaZe are finding, and they can just sit there and they're like, well, we're safe. And one of the things that I think, assuming FaZe win this, that I am going to ask Cameraman if we get an interview with him is, you know, do you think that the less aggressive defensive style is more because you are specifically trying to play less offensively on your defense? Or is it just because INTZ never put you in a position where you were tempted to go aggressive? Because honestly, I'm leaning towards the latter at this point. INTZ aren't drawing FaZe out, because FaZe just don't need to move anywhere.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Once FaZe have got themselves into a position, they're more than happy to just sit there and hold it. And it's usually because of some early aggression that FaZe have thrown out there, where they've been able to, you know, get involved and get some kills done early, like we've seen Bullet and Astro do quite regularly. At least challenge onto the players as they approach the building. FaZe have seemingly won the mental game quite early in this one, and now can just kind of play however they like. They've got Cyber set up upstairs in small office. He's got a shield, couple of ADSs, and the shotgun to contend with. Barricade open enough so that he can sneak on through, but no one immediately going to recognize that maybe that's the case. A couple of drones do come in and give the game away. And Grismod himself up briefly and see if he can hang in for a little bit longer. This isn't the most difficult thing in the world to deal with, but you get the feeling it's going to take INTZ quite a lot of time and quite a lot of effort. He's now got himself laid prone behind the desk. Already 2 nades have come on through. He's drawn for the pistol,
oh, no.
but will be taken out. A little bit too overconfident there, potentially, from Cyber.
Well, we'll have to see if that's going to hurt FaZe in the long run, because Bullet's the next one to put a kill onto the board. So even though it was maybe a bit disrespectful from Cyber, I'm not sure it's going to have far-reaching implications for the rest of this game, you know? And I know FaZe said that they want to be more respectful of their opponents, but INTZ aren't showing them any reason to earn respect. There's the exothermic charge done from the office above, so you get the top part of the wall below opened as well. You can usually hold a nice angle in from above if you want. But it gives you a great line of sight through into the site.
It does. Now Drunks is able to hold on to those stairs and see if he can cut an angle on through. The wall continuing to get opened here. It's still going to be a little bit of denial in the hands of FaZe. They've got a couple of C4s to roll with here, as well as potentially a bit more information in the Maestro cameras. Astro may get taken out here, and he will. The nade forcing him out of position, so a good little bait and switch there from Drunks, using the utility to force the player out, and he's actually going to pick himself up too. Finally, somebody shuts down Bullet. That guy's been on a bit of a tear so far. He's only died 3 times this game. Now down to Souls and Cameraman to clutch this one out in the final 30 seconds. Cameraman going to be playing the top of Freezer stairs. Souls inside of the site. There's likely going to be information for these FaZe players available. Cameraman going to be able to win the 1v1 with Zach. Now he can advance on through and just hold into showers. Going to be a very important position. The smoke canisters coming in. Souls will be sat though. Now all that needs to happen is the diffuser needs to go down from INTZ. We've got 5 seconds to try and make it happen with no. Oh, look at his face.
He's so annoyed with himself.
That paints the whole picture right there. Accidentally falls down the hatch. Loses a lot of time. The plant now goes down. And seemingly doesn't have too much info to go on as he blindly pre-fires through. There's going to be a player inside there of Dining as well, and that's going to be Drunks. Big round for him, as he was able to be a big part in those opening frags and really unlocking the bomb site.
Well, finally a round on the board for INTZ. Maybe they'll be able to add on to that now that they're going to be playing the defense themselves. Maybe it was a disappointing round for Cameraman, but they can't be too disappointed with that scoreline, I think, at the end of the half. It's a pretty dominant one to work off of. And what is it that they're going to be bringing here to attack onto the site? They've gone for the double... They've gone for the double heart breach. We're going to get to see that Cameraman reaction again. It's kind of heartbreaking because Cameraman's such a nice guy. You never want to see him sad. Look. Oh, it's just the look of defeat, dude. I hate it. I hate it because I get it.
It's the moment you know that you've lost the round, because it's very unlikely for you to be able to come back from that. Now, up until that point, it wasn't entirely winnable, but yeah, you're right. You don't like to see Cameraman downside.
No, he's too nice. He's too wholesome. So, oh well, maybe he'll be able to make up for it in this round. Maybe INTZ are going to come on a comeback and take it as a 7-5. Who knows? Only time will tell. They have gone for the shield idea, I suppose you could say. Although, interestingly, look at what Vitz has brought as his secondary utility.
Yeah, it's not every day that you actually get to see Smoke Shield. Sorry, Smoke Barb.
What?
Smoke shield. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? You're like,
smoke shield is so rare.
But it's not every day that you actually see the smoke with barb, especially when you look at your other options. Like, Jaeger's brought barb. Vitz still has one piece of barb. Why has he not brought the shield?
Well, I would assume it's because VNX has got the Vulcan shields and they only need 2. Maybe? I mean, for me personally, I would assume that having a 3rd shield, especially one that doesn't explode, is going to be more useful to you, but...
I'd make that assumption as well, Gio.
We are but mortals watching Gods of Siege, Ollie.
Oh, we are.
So we can only watch on in bemusement and incredulity to see what cerebral ideas have encouraged this outlook from INTZ. I don't know. I honestly have no idea. You know, we'll see, I guess. FaZe Clan, as I was saying before, they've gone for the double hard breach. They're going to have both the smokes and the nades on the side of Thermite and Maverick, and you can actually hear the Maverick doing his work. Cameraman upstairs opening up the freezer hatch now.
Astro's in a dangerous spot. We've seen him go ham from the bottom of that laundry double door. The push already coming in now from FaZe as they're going to try and burn out the player that's going to be behind the lockers. Nades and Lifeline moving in. Astro's actually shifting. He's got himself into meeting. Still a lot of vertical pressure coming in now through the hatches. INTZ going to be forced to try and hold on. Drunks is in a good position. He's got a nice angle through onto the bottom of those freezer stairs. Really is going to come down to a timing thing. A little bit of pressure in through bunker would be nice right about now, as it could just do something to shift out these defenders, but instead we are going to see someone push rear stage. Diver is going to be on the stairs. Nades now being used to destroy these barbed wire. Well, that's why you bring the barbed wire, Gio, because 2 players are going to get caught inside of it, and all of a sudden we're going to see a C4 lobbed on in. 3 kills that go unresponded. Cyber and Cameraman, a lot of work to do. Cyber's going to be able to recover the diffuser. That's a pretty hot drop into sight. He has information to work with. Him and Cameraman, they've got 25 seconds to try and make this happen. Cameraman's going to one-man army it all the way through. He wasn't anticipating Hornetow. Hornetow will be down, but it's a gunfight. Will only go one way. VNX primed in position. That C4 really the undoing there of FaZe.
Well, I said we were the mere mortals and we would find out the answers to our petty questions, and there we go. The strategy unveiled itself. I didn't actually see if one of the Vulcan shields was placed over in elbow. I did see that they had left it unreinforced, so they had to rotate through to elbow. But I would say that these days it has become more and more unpopular for teams, especially here in Brazil, to actually apply much pressure onto construction. So I suppose that's one thing that I could think of as, oh, we can afford to lose one shield, you know? But there was a great C4 that Hornetown did. And actually, Hornetown had a bit of a tough week last week, not getting a ton of value and taken down quite early in a lot of engagements in the games that he was playing last week. So see him shine a little bit is nice. Some vindication, I would say, for INTZ as they continue to add rounds to the board and carry themselves forward.
And this defensive phase could be quite good for INTZ as well. You know, they might find a little bit of a new lease of life being able to set the pace of the game. They were getting pressured very heavily early on inside of a lot of the rounds where they were on the attack. Something that FaZe were doing as almost a suppression tactic to just put INTZ on the back foot right from the word go. And now INTZ are able to really start to dictate that pace and set out how the game is going to go forward. They could very well see a couple more rounds coming here because, as we've mentioned a couple of times, for all that this is a 5-2 scoreline, it's been quite a scrappy game. And there's a lot of rounds that have come down to a 1 versus 1. There's a lot of clutching that we've seen happen from FaZe and the members on it. So by no means is this out of the realms of possibility for Furia to come up with another couple of rounds here. It's going to depend largely.
Furia?
Did I say Furia?
You got Furia on the brain.
Honestly, I've always got Furia on the brain.
Always do.
They're literally they're like #1 inside of the brain.
I wouldn't normally call out something like that, but it's just funny because of how much you love Furia. It's like, yeah, of course, Ollie.
I did that yesterday as well, you know.
Did you?
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, it's okay. Game number 4 today, we'll actually get to see Furia. So you can talk about Furia as much as you like, Ollie, to your heart's content.
Well, I think everybody gets the point. Basically, INTZ, they've got a chance at a couple of rounds in.
Hey, straight in from Cyber. And this is the upstairs site. So they're doing their due diligence downstairs. Finally sort out drunks. Remember, one of the problems that INTZ had when they were attacking onto the upstairs was not necessarily clearing Cyber out from classroom. So unsurprising that it's Cyber who's the one who is tasked with actually doing that himself. He knows too well how effective it can be to have players downstairs. To clear that out gives FaZe Clan a lot more room to work with.
Drunks is now just left to manning those cameras. Again, he's been quite a big player so far, along with him and Bits and Hornetal. They share a lot of the kills and a lot of the load so far. Smoke's being deployed now as cameraman looks to nade out into Attic, but it won't be successful. The push from Bullet, however, will at least remove a little bit of VNX's health. Still won't entirely get the job done. Hornetal and Bits come up pretty big. Bits is essentially going to take Bullet out there with the C4, so any pressure that Bullet was able to put in from that other side of Attic is now no longer. And with only 40 seconds remaining, the Toxic Babe canisters are going to do a large part of cutting the remaining members on the side of FaZe out of the site. Bits at the top of White Stairs can also hold the cross. Hornetal going to be inside of kids' dorms. No one on the side of INTZ really needs to move at the moment, and they can just start to wait for the players of FaZe to come into their lines of sight. Cyber going to make that entry in through the attic, as that has now been given up. Probably quite rightly. There's no lot left to be gained out of controlling attic for INTZ. And instead, Cyber going to be now getting hassled from below. Souls is trying to get the plant down. Cyber's going to sponge the shots. Eventually, Souls has to come off the plant. But even then, time was running short. Hornetal, he's going to find the final two. INTZ, another really good job there of holding on.
I want to see how they're going to do this when they move on to a tertiary site now. I think that can oftentimes show whether there's a thorn in the side or whether it's actually going to continue on. So they're going to go to... Oh, they're going to go to dining. They were flirting with the idea of going to meeting. Changed their mind on that one. Having a look at what it is they're bringing. All right, they're going to have the... I was going to say they're going to have the Valkyrie, but of course, that's the one that gets 6-picked. Given that FaZe Clan have lent into playing with the smokes, of course, they've brought Thermite along for that exact purpose. And we've seen it be used. It doesn't really surprise me too much that they're bringing a Warden, knowing that they can kind of punish the attempts at the smoke plants. But also some intel gathering from the sense of the alibi, of course, the mute as well.
3 shields, Gio. Only 1 set of barbed wire.
What are they doing?
What are they doing? Smoke with a shield? Huh.
That is so 2000 and every year Siege has been out.
It's, well, I don't know. It maybe was a choice. It might be something we actually get to ask him. I always really like to try and sort of figure out exactly what decisions players are making like that. And often when you ask them the question, it's like, oh yeah, accidentally I had barbed wire on. And it's just something as flippant as that, and we're like going in like everything matters so much inside of this game.
It's so
and just
smart.
like,
it's unprecedented thinking.
It really is. It's like a brand new meta, and it's like, oh yeah, actually, I just messed up. Like I left barb on because I was messing around in a custom or something. And it could just be something as simple as that.
Well, let's believe that it was for something super smart, but it's not going to be relevant in this round. Note as well, actually, if we're talking about Vitz bringing peculiar things, he's not bringing the C4 on mute, he's bringing the bulletproof. And I'd imagine that, again, that kind of is for the anti-smoke sort of idea that they're going for. They want to be able to have as much vision through those as they can. And have, I don't know, a lot of intel. They're going for the intel. Alibi. Mute. Gimme, gimme. You know, Let me get this
No, they are.
analysis.
Well, they've got to get their information from somewhere. Typically, you play an Alder sometimes on this site as well. So the bulletproof is like a real poor man's version of that, I guess. As we all know that Maestro is going to be the superior in that regard. But Drunks, he's able to gain himself a nice entry there onto Cyber. Finish it off as well as he takes down Cameraman. Still, the advantage is going to be in FaZe's favor. Zach could be in position to do something here. Hornetow trying to hold on. He's actually got the FMG9 as well, so really mixing things up in terms of loadout and kit. It's probably the better weapon to be challenging onto that long-range engagement with. It would make sense to bring it for this site. I don't know how much it's going to help him. Still going against Astro, Bullet, and Souls. And Zach not really being in a position to directly assist. Toxic Babe Canister going to be attempted there, but I don't think Souls is going to mind too much as he is outside of the radius. The plant has been successful there. Zach now has to try and retake. He's being held from outside as well. He does have the information. He was going to go for the run out there, but Souls is going to shut him down before he can do so. Hornetow has to now come on through. Will take down Souls, but the last two remaining players for FaZe scurry themselves into office, looking to hold alternate lines and just keep an eye on that diffuser. They don't need to give the game away here. This is going to be match point for FaZe.
Yeah, some nice thinking there from INTZ, but ultimately it wasn't enough. I was actually kind of impressed with the kill that Drunks got. He got very aggressive in showers, straight onto the breach that was being made by FaZe in their engagement. They just didn't really continue on from the end there, and Hornetow in a difficult position. I think the fact that the Toxic Babe Canister wasn't enough to deny the plant was probably where you started to see that round slip. Because no one in INTZ was really in a position to directly challenge onto it. And the fact that there were enough players in FaZe Clan who were still alive, they could provide protective cover from elsewhere should those players from INTZ have actually stepped out to try and, you know, take a gunfight onto Souls. Or not really a gunfight, but try to shoot him. So the fact that the denial utility didn't actually work against him meant that FaZe Clan had a much stronger post-plant scenario. So now, as you say, on match point, going to be attacking back up onto the upstairs, which is interesting because it was Laundry that INTZ decided to go to for their primary. Wait, this is not the upstairs.
This is the Laundry.
All right, forget that. Let's, hold on, go rewind a few seconds. Interestingly, they're going to be going down onto Laundry, which is the first site that they went to on round one. Crazy how those things work out.
It is crazy. It's about to take FaZe to the cleaners. They take them downstairs to the Laundry here. Potentially the last round for FaZe. Interesting point just on that smoke from the smoke that was attempted to be denied in that previous round. I think it was Hornetow on the smoke. That's obviously a new change as well with the smoke propagation. Obviously, you would have been able to deny that plan by clipping the smoke through the wall previously, but with the way that the smokes have been changed now, that is no longer a thing. So, again, a little bit of an adjustment there that players will need to start making. But as we look toward this round now, Cameraman on the Lion. Potentially could be looking for a little bit of aggression. This is actually going to be inside of meeting with the hatch open. So a little bit unorthodox, especially considering that this is match point. And, well, INTZ was successful here last time. You wouldn't have thought they would have to change too much, but they've gone for something quite different. Already looking for a little bit of a drop. VNX is going to find the kill over onto Cameraman. The site is already being pressured. Zach finds himself down, but it's only down to Cyber and Soul. Soul's still going to be upstairs trying to clear meeting, while Cyber is already inside of Laundry, taking every gunfight that he possibly can. This round has gone horribly wrong. Souls is left in the clutch, finds one. Can he pick the second? He pretty much knows where everyone is at the moment, but he's still 1 versus 3. Hasn't had time to reload the primary, so it's the pistol that's going to have to do the job. He does have the diffuser. He's going to take a moment to breathe and just see if there's anything that he can gain here. A little bit of a bait smoke going out, potentially cover off any lines of sight and just try and worry about one player at once. Pre-fires through, can't land his shot, slow peeks onto Vitz and instantly gets shut down. FaZe seemingly trying to speedrun that match point.
Well, I think they could see the finish line. Ain't nothing wrong with trying to go for it. Honestly, when you noted that Vitz was upstairs holding meeting with the hatch open by himself, I was like, man, if I'm Vitz, I'm terrified. But he actually got a kill onto Astro from there. So you could tell that FaZe Clan weren't all together to try and push through that first floor, whether or not they were looking to open up the meeting hatch and jump down there, which isn't something that's looked like a strategy that they're interested in right now anyway. But the point is that if those couple of players from INTZ could get the kills onto FaZe Clan earlier on in the round, it suggests to me that those players from FaZe Clan were all quite separated because, you know, they, we didn't get to see a lot of that. But not staying together could have really come to hurt them in that round.
Well, a second chance here for FaZe to try and convert this into a win. Going to be attacking upstairs again, somewhere that they weren't successful previously. There was a presence and a push that came through Attic, but it was eventually stopped. Vitz was able to get in and hit a nice C4 onto that. There will only be one C4 available on the side of INTZ, something they leaned pretty heavily into previously when defending up here, but this time they won't have as many options. I believe they've left half of the trophy wall into pit soft. Maybe looking to pressure a little bit more heavily into that area straight from the rip. It, of course, gives that line of sight and that angle over toward FaZe. We've also seen a few changes on their side, most notably Cyber's going to be bringing the Flores.
Yeah, it was, is it FaZe Clan who have done Flores on this map so far before? I remember when Team 1 did, and it was interesting because they put Alamau on Flores and kind of took him off of a huge fragging role. But I think Cyber's a pretty good choice for it just because of the kind of roles that he typically takes. You're not removing Astro off of that. And one thing that we've seen from a lot of teams is sometimes their Flores gets a little bit too eager and dies a bit too early, and suddenly all the utility that we've heralded goes down very early. They've already used one of their drones, which we did just see as FaZe Clan tried to pressure on from the armory side into Trophy. Looks like maybe they're going to get ready to open games at the same time as well.
Player inside a Trophy is going to be quite difficult to remove here. Astro just going to be holding that angle. Cameraman has option to peek on through Attic, but the opener going to go to Hornetown, taking it down the Thermite. Not quite the soul hard breach, but someone that you're going to be looking to get walls open nice and quickly. Cameraman the next to go, so that really is all of the hard destruction gone out of this round for FaZe. It's going to be a very flat push from here on out. Cyber, Bullet, and Astro really got their work cut out for them here. Cyber going to try and get into his Flores drone and see if there's any utility that he can remove, any players that he can look to try and shift around. But INTZ, they're not feeling pressured. They're still a full 5, and they can just hold on to these powerful angles that they know. Cyber going to be locked out of a lot of the round as well, just in the fact that he's trying to gather this information. He knows there's a player top of white. He now knows there's likely going to be a player inside of kids as well. But really, what are they going to be able to do with that newfound info? INTZ aren't in a position to need to give anything away here. Toxic Babe canisters can try and stop this push coming in any further. Astro could look to try and get the plant down, but eventually he is going to get pushed. And he's going to heavily rely on Cyber and Bullet hitting the shots. Bullet's been hitting his shots pretty much all night as he finds the first. But Zach is going to come in with a nice little kill onto Astro. That's going to stop the plant down, leaving Bullet in the 1 versus 3. Still 3 kills to find in 10 seconds. A lot of angles to check. 1 kill every 3 if he starts now. Well, INTZ, they're not going to give it away that easily. They're going to take this potentially all the way. INTZ, they're going to pick up another round and take us to 6-5. They're still not out of this one.
You know, even though I had a lot of issues with the way that INTZ tried their white stairs pressure when they were attacking onto this site, at least they were actually looking to come from two different directions. And that's something the FaZe Clan really lacked in that round. Even when Astro went for the plant, Zach had total free reign to walk forwards and kill him because only angles from pit or from trophy could be held by FaZe Clan. And when the player who was in pit went down, you know, you've just got to get past the one in trophy. You've got to ensure that you can walk forward. And Zach had all that freedom in the world. And as you noted, you know, you can send the Flores drones into kids, but if all you're getting is information because they're being shot out too early, there's only so much you can do with that. You know, there are good ways of clearing out kids and dorms. And one way that we see a lot of teams do is they'll bring something like a buck and they'll play from down below and they'll pressure that way. Or they play on big window and they cut off rotates and you see things like nades come out or whatever to force them out of position. Or you can just come in and have two players come down through attic and pressure in from that kind of direction. But it's not something that we saw FaZe Clan do effectively whatsoever in that round. So as you said, INTZ didn't really have any reason to be forced out of the positions that they held, and there was no real substantial crossfire preventing them from making relevant rotates on the site. Made it really precarious for FaZe Clan to actually try and plant, and when they did, it was so easily punished. So now they have one more chance to take this game before INTZ force this into an overtime. And given that the devastating loss that FaZe Clan had yesterday, I would say this is pretty paramount for them to take this right now.
Yeah, the mental's going to be a little bit wobbly on FaZe, especially after yesterday, and could be a little bit of a curse when they come up against INTZ. I mentioned, and we joked about it earlier in the pregame, about how INTZ actually beat FaZe the last time they played each other. This game has certainly not been clear-cut for FaZe, and INTZ are well within position of taking this to overtime. And again, an important point to bring up now that overtime's on the cards is that even if FaZe do win this, if they don't come away with 3 points, that's going to be both FaZe and Liquid in the space of 2 play days that have dropped points in games that they would have been very expecting to win and come away with a full 3. And it will affect those standings and maybe even give more advantage to a team like NIP, who has risen up through the ranks so hard. But still a round to play here and a chance for FaZe to still walk away with a full 3. They're going to start things off in a good way, taking down Zach, a player that didn't have a great deal of impact on the attack, but since getting onto the defense has really started to chalk up some kills.
It's a nice start for FaZe Clan. Still a ton of presence upstairs, as especially they know that there is another player up here on the defensive side. Gonna have to clear VNX out before they move down, and Hornetown as well. It's not too far away, although I think he might be on the floor below. Bear in mind that this is a defense that is below them. I mean, we've just had the drop down into meeting. FaZe Clan looking to continue on with the vertical pressure, and Hornetown is the next to fall.
Full a player that has stepped up in a massive way throughout this play day. We're only saying 16 and 7 is where a lot of the kills on the side of FaZe have come from, which is kind of curious because he hasn't been playing too great this stage, but he stepped up when it matters. The plant was being attempted there. Vitz, can he find 2? No. Will eventually be taken on out. VNX, it's all down to you, my friend. Cameraman, what a big round from him as well. Stepping in with 3 kills. A game that was a lot closer than it needed to be for FaZe. They're going to scrape by there, and I truly mean it. They managed to get the win over INTZ, but by a very narrow margin.
Yeah, I think that was way too close to comfort for FaZe. Even though it was better than their game against INTZ from last stage, I think given what they want to be seeing from themselves, this game was probably not it. That said, it is still 3 points on the board, as it was a regulation win for FaZe Clan. And when we were talking at the start about the way the standings are looking right now and how that